when you're going through it, the hardest part, I tell people all the time, the hardest part is dealing with yourself. It's not the withdrawals, it's dealing with yourself and all the mess that you had packed in there for all those years.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Pastor Justin Franich here, Rebuilding Life After Addiction. And thank you for jumping in. And man, I got a couple guests with me today. I got Jesse and Ashley here. How you guys doing today?
We're doing great.
Great.
Doing all right? Yeah, so we just finished some class, man, here at the center, and we're going to be we talked about personal relationship with others for the last several days. It felt like a marathon session of teaching, but really wanted to talk today about how to build great friendships. And I think when it comes to recovery and when it comes to this journey out of addiction, one of the things that I've kind of held on to, and I think I said it 7 times in class the last 2 days, is that like your friendships will make or break you. Like, and I am so, like, I'm so passionate about that in regards to like encouraging folks, like really evaluating, great relationships and your friendships in your life, because I think it's going to determine your success or failure when it comes to staying the course. And so maybe let's just start out, man, and just kind of ask you guys jumping into this, if you've ever had a friendship that has either impacted your life directly in a positive or a negative manner, either way, but kind of kick off the conversation maybe with a story, if you guys, either one of you guys want to jump in.
Yeah, I had some relationships that affected me in a positive way. I had people in my life, pastors and people in programs that I was in. They showed me the way that they were walking by, like they were leading by example, and they was holding me accountable. And as a man, I didn't like to be held accountable. I was like, well, they're just picking out all my flaws, but they're really trying to help me. Yeah. But negative too, negative as well. Friends and family, where I had relationships with them, and like they were doing things like basically denying Jesus, right? And by their actions, the way they were doing it, and it was hard to have faith around them. Yeah, to show them like through my faith in Jesus. So it went both ways.
Now, how far along in your faith journey were you during that season when you were starting to experience some of that?
Oh, I was still a babe. Okay. I was still a babe. I still wanted to be cool and fit in with everybody. Yeah. But at the same time, I still wanted to follow Jesus. Like I wanted to have one foot in and one foot out. So. Yeah. And that could really pull the wind out of your sails, can't it? Yes, it really can.
When you you're excited and you get this like stark reality that not everybody's as excited about Jesus as you are. Yeah. And it's almost like opening a gift at Christmas as a kid, and you get it and you're really excited about it. And then you're like, hey, play this game with me. And no. And like, it's just like, the whole thing just deflates. But yeah, man. So Jesse, what about you? You have any friendships that have impacted your life on positive, negative, and what, what made it different?
Mine been mostly negative, growing up, everybody I hung out with was mainly on the street, and, they never had nothing good to say towards me. It's always, hey man, let's go get high, always lead me the wrong direction. I wanted to, go do the right thing, but I was trying to fit in and do right, and they was supposed to be my friends. So I was like, they ain't no harm to it. They gonna make sure I'm all right. So I would go do what they did, and it just led to one thing after another. It's been mostly negative. Yeah. Wasn't after a while, after I got older, I figured out they wasn't my friends, but
yeah. So we talked, Ashley, you said you had 2 different examples that you shared. Yep. You said there were some times where you had some people that were speaking life into you. Yes. And then there was a time in your life when you had folks that were almost yanking the wind out of your sails. Yep. So what shifted, right, to get from that point where, you had the people, you kind of were able to silence those voices and start to listen to the proper, to walk us through that process?
I think really it was just like experiencing the longer that I walked with the Lord. And actually it took for my dad to pass away. He was a great example and a role model for me. And he was the chairman deacon of the church, and he passed. And then I came to a realization that, hey, I need to get this thing right, and no matter what nobody else thinks. And just that alone was like, well, I don't care what nobody else says, whether it's cool or not. I know this works for me, and it's been working. And every time that I was listening to the right people in my life, my path was so much better than what it was when I was trying to please people in the world. And night and day.
Yeah. What is that about that? Like, man, we like to pretend that we're like self-reliant, and we don't care what everybody else thinks. Like, we got this rugged, so we can have this like rugged individualism, really more like outwardly.
Yeah.
You know, it's just me against the world. I don't care what anybody else thinks. Forget about it.
Know it all.
But
Think
like,
you know it all.
but yet we really do care, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, you were talking about your friends.
Yep.
Like, man, they got me. These are my. You know what I'm saying?
I felt safe. You know, they're supposed to be my friends.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's it seems to be experience that kind of knocks us down. So as you start to look at friendships going forward, man, how has your past, the experiences that you shared? You said most of your experiences have been negative. What are you looking at going forward?
Good. You know, I see that myself. You know, in the future. You know. Being a man of the Lord now, you know, and trying to help people that's been in situations that I used to be in, you know, and since I was in that situation, I'll be able to help them out of it. Like, look, man, I took this path that you're on right now. Let's try this, you know, because I know what's at the end of that road, you know. So before you even get started, let's stop right here at the crossroads and let's turn around and go back, so I can help you get on a different path here, because this is not the road you want to take. You might think you want to, but it ain't.
So do you struggle at all, man, or fear a little bit, like the risk of going back?
No, sir.
No, not at all.
Sir.
So why?
I'm tired of it. I don't want no more of it. It's just a lot of, you know, tough, you know, dark days and nights that I've been through, and it just ain't fun no more. What I thought used to be cool is fun is no longer cool and fun no more. Yeah. Especially since I've experienced the good side of what I'm going towards now. I like it better than what I used to do. Past. That's
good. Ashley, you said as you went forward, like after losing your dad, right, and kind of starting to look for those mentors, those strong leaders, right? And what was the Lord doing in you during that season? Like, man, what were you starting to see in other people, you know, and that really started making you look outward for healthy friendships or healthy connections, you know?
I actually started seeing what they were trying to do the whole time. They were trying to help me and tell me things that were for my good, even though I didn't want to hear it. It was what I needed to hear. And a lot of these role models were the male figures. They were older. And so since I didn't have a dad telling me these things, I mean, I was looking for answers through other people. And these were positive role models in my life. And I was like, well, maybe they're right. Maybe I should try this and listen. Yeah. So listening to them, it definitely helped me see things different and get a different opinion and a perspective on what a godly man should be and who a real friend is. Yeah.
Keeping good friendships, man. I heard a quote. I share a funny quote all the time, and I don't know who I stole it from. I stole it from somebody. I didn't make it up. Yeah. But it said everybody talks about Jesus doing miracles, but nobody talks about the miracle of Jesus having 12 friends in his 30s.
What?
Man. And like, it's funny, but it's also like, oh, that's not funny. You know, because it's like, it seems whether it be busyness of life, whether it be personal struggles, every season of life has different challenges. And it almost is like in every season, the enemy either wants to keep us connected to toxic and unhealthy people that are going to pull us down, or cause us to drive away from everybody and end up isolating, right? And so, like, how vital do you see healthy, godly friendships for you moving forward in this recovery journey, right? In order to be able to stay the course. It's like, it's one thing to say that I know I should have them, right? But like, how vital do you see that as a part of your success, or are you still kind of working it out and getting there mentally? You know, you can be completely open and honest on that one.
Well, I think it's very vital. At times I feel like it's not, because I get in my own way a lot. But I think it's very vital, because if I go out there and I don't have an accountability group, I mean, it's very likely I could fall. I think somewhere it says that, and I'm paraphrasing this, where lack of counsel, the people will fall. And so I think it is important to keep myself surrounded by those types of people, just to keep me stable and grounded, and just to have somebody to talk to and call on.
Yeah. So you said something there, just I want to hone in on this. I'm going to get to you in just a second, Jesse, but and you're welcome to chime in at any time too, but like we talked about in our curriculum today, like becoming a good friend. So like, there's always been access. I would assume, it sounds like in your life, you always had the opportunity.
Yes.
I think sometimes it's easy to slip into victim mode. Nobody cares about me. I don't have access to anybody. Nobody's looking out for me. You know what I'm saying? There's nobody's trying to come help me, more than it is saying, man, I've had access to all of this, like the prodigal, and I've absolutely squandered it.
Yeah.
Right. And that realization almost can really make us start pursuing.
I mean, it was a big thing, because once I started using it, I seen how beneficial it could be. But when I didn't use it, I watched how my life go down a downward spiral.
Yeah.
And even like, sometimes it's crazy to me, because sometimes I feel like I don't need it, but that's when I need it the most.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's very detrimental.
It's like the prodigal, not even the prodigal, but the older son.
Yeah.
There were two. The one, at least, was just like, I'm done with you. Give me my stuff. The other one got angry when the son came home and threw the party. Like, he was in the home and didn't realize what he had.
Yeah.
The prodigal lost everything. Did you have something?
Yeah, I think, like he was saying, if it's there around you, that if you got an old past of it, and if you don't keep that good group of friends with you, guide you down, because like you said, everybody falls, but if you ain't got that good group of friends with you, that keep you away from, the bad habits like that. But if you're, let's say you're out in a restaurant or something, and you see somebody over there got something, and if you ain't with that big group of friends, most likely you gonna walk over and be like, hey man, I'm trying to hang out with you. I see what you're doing, like let's go hang out. And even though dude don't know you from Adam and Eve, he's gonna be like, all right, man, let's go, let's roll out, So like, I think it is good beneficial if you do keep that good group of friends with you. It says somewhere in the book about a man should not be alone, and I believe in that fully. It's always good to have somebody around.
Yeah, that's really good. So let's talk practical. So we talked about the heart and God changing some stuff in us. But like just really practically speaking, what are you doing now? What are you looking at doing in the future to really focus on growing stronger friendships, for the benefit of your recovery? Like, what does that look like day by day right now versus, we talked about the past and kind of some changes that happened then, but looking forward, so Jesse, specifically for you, right? No, I can't go back. But again, how? Right? What are you doing going forward to,
What I'm doing forward of bettering myself is I'm keeping accounting of all joys, and I'm studying more, with the Lord and everything, keeping Him there. But mostly it's just trying to make sure I'm doing something that is, I know, that ain't going to take me back, like the table, going to table, worshiping and stuff like that. Like, I think that's a good beneficial of helping me, keep my mind off of stuff like that and just keep on moving forward. And eventually that's just, the past is just going to leave, and it ain't going to be there no more.
Yeah, I'm curious too, Ashley. Like I know, that's really good, man. By the way, I didn't mean to just breeze on that. But I had this thought when I was in my meth addict, like meth life and all that. I was not very friendly to people. Like you know, I was scared. I thought everybody was a Fed, right? You know, like every black SUV. You know, you're looking out the windows, all that stuff. But like you guys are both. We have great conversations. We laugh, joke around the house. Like, how was that? Like we talk about being a good friend and being friendly. I mean, how were you guys when you were in active addiction? Like, were you still life of the party, still fun, you know, and able to engage with people, or did you disconnect? Like, what did that look like?
I was the complete opposite. I was angry all the time. Every little thing like triggered me, and I was not social. Like if you see me somewhere on the streets, I wouldn't wave at you. I would isolate. I would stay to myself. But one thing that was funny about it is that I would never try to drag nobody into my mess. Like if I was in active addiction, I wouldn't try to surround myself with people who were in active addiction. I would go home and do it by myself because I knew how my attitude was, and I was easily triggered by anything. My attitude went from 0 to 100 real quick.
Yeah.
And like coming out of that it's like when you're going through it, the hardest part, I tell people all the time, the hardest part is dealing with yourself. It's not the withdrawals, it's dealing with yourself and all the mess that you had packed in there for all those years. And, but once you get through that, and well, once I get through it, I'm probably one of the best people you can ever meet. And
I enjoy hanging out with you. Yeah, nice to be around.
Yeah.
You know, that's such a good point though. It's like, it's not the drugs that are hard to quit.
Yeah.
It's the fearfulness, terrifying to realize like what's underneath. It's such a good point, man. Like after you stop using, now I gotta face me.
Yep.
And that sucks. It's so tough. Yeah. Like, so Jesse, how were you like prior to?
I was the life of the party, man. I was.
That's not a surprise.
I always wanted to show off of how much I had, flash the money, you know. Try to get as many people I could to party, you know, like I wanted my name to be out there, like, hey, if you trying to go down, like, go holler at Jesse. But at the same time, as I got everybody around, I'm sitting in the back room, like, man, this dude over here trying to sit me up right now, man. Look, I need you to go holler at him, tell him, search him, make sure. But, you know, like, I was known, you know, like, I was very known, like, it was. I was scared to run out. That was for sure.
Yeah. So that's a good segue though then to boundaries, right? Because like, so almost the extrovert and introvert, right? Differences. I identify as an introvert, like, you know, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I love speaking public. Like I don't mind speaking publicly, but like, it's the same thing. Like podcasting is even a stretch.
Yeah.
Because class is fine when I have to pause and answer questions,
right,
I lose my mind. Right? And so I can engage in conversation, but like, so that shift, that dynamic shift, right? And so the extroverted nature, I'm assuming, pointed in the right direction, would be a huge blessing, right? So with you, Jesse, kind of being extrovert to extrovert, right? Like, let's talk about, it's a great conversation for boundaries.
Yes.
So how we talked about boundaries today, and like, are there any boundaries that you recognize that you need to put in place in order to be able to ensure that these friendships that you develop are going to be healthy?
Yeah. My most boundary is my main one is the way they act. You know, somebody explains themselves without telling themselves by their actions, and that's my big one. You know, like if they're acting like a certain way, you know, like not by judging them, but you know, like acting like.
No, it's okay to judge them.
I mean,
absolutely.
But like if they acting like, you know,
I'm judging you right now.
Well, if they got that attitude, like I don't care.
Yeah.
Hey, look. You be okay, nobody ain't gonna find out attitude, then I know that's a boundary for me to just step back and be like, look, man, you go have fun and all that sounds great, you know, but I just think I'm gonna hang back, you know. I got something else to do, you know. But
So have you typically been the type of person that you're pretty quick to jump in instead of hanging back to see?
Yeah.
Okay.
I normally I'm like, if somebody mentions something, I'm like, hey, let's get a pool, man.
So you're taking a bite before you even know what kind of fruit it is,
trying
right?
to eat
It's
it
just
all
like,
at once. Yeah.
I thought this was a peach.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
Hey, look, somebody be like, hey, let's go jump off this rock without even asking how deep the water is. I'm going head first.
Yeah.
You know, like.
It's a good illustration.
Yeah.
Man, that's good self-awareness, though, right?
Yes, sir.
And that's like what you were just talking about a minute ago, unpacking everything.
Yeah.
That's the work of recovery.
It is.
It is unpacking who we are.
It gets difficult sometimes, though, Justin.
It does.
It does. Like, there'd be days that I'm like, man, why am I even doing this? Like, it's so much easier just to do this. But then that's when I catch myself. I'm like, no, wait. I'm here for a reason. I don't want that no more, you know? But it does get tough sometimes, for real.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, it does. It's that, I mean, it's a lot of grace and a lot of grit. Right?
Yeah.
And it's the hard work. And I think a lot of times we end up at places, especially being, you know, very spirit-filled, you know, Jesus chasing people, like work's going to happen at the altar call and we expect like a miracle moment, but work has to happen after the altar call too.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the part I think, even the risk of sometimes being more charismatic in our faith is it becomes another high that we're chasing. And Ashley, I want to ask you specifically, man, you used very distinct words about spiritual mentors, people speaking life into you, you know, very, very Christianese, we call it language, right, in that regard.
Yeah.
So how have those friendships, man, helped you grow spiritually, right? Mm-hmm. I would love to have you unpack that a little bit.
They helped me in a way where I realized like that the addiction wasn't my problem. It was my attitude. And I was like, how can it be my attitude when I got a problem with this drug here? But the attitude was the root problem of it all.
Yeah.
And I had an anger problem. And my mentors helped me through that, whether it was giving me discipline and making me write half the Bible. But in it, I was thinking how stupid it was, but it helped me grow. Just keeping me in the Word. And after you write something 1,000 times, it's going to sink in.
Yeah.
And not only that, they would call me out and like say if I was just doing something that I didn't think was wrong. They would call me out on it, and I was like, man, why would they do that? But they cared enough for me to call me out on whatever I had going on. And it's like, just like you were using the illustration of the prodigal son, he walked away from his father, and like I guess he didn't want to listen to him anymore, and he went chasing after the things of the world, but he realized and came back to his senses and came back to the Father, because he knew there was something there that he needed, and everything that he needed was at home the whole time.
Yeah.
And so growing up in the church and having all these spiritual people around me all the time, I knew there was something there. So when I walked away, I was like, well, it was fun for a season. Like they say, sin is only fun for a season.
Yeah.
And when I came back, I was like, well, this is where I'm supposed to be. Even though it's hard and it's tough and there's things that I don't want to hear, things that I don't want to do, I know this is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. I almost think it's and I can't say this for sure because I've never not grown up in the church and went and found Jesus, not knowing anything about him. Like you shared your story, right? That you like never knew you had not been involved in church before. It's in my perspective, my estimation, it almost seems easier to start there than it does to have grown up in it, slip away, and it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing, like because like there's no like the humility that it takes to come running back to the Father's house and having to throw yourself before that. Like, I blew all the money you gave me, Dad. Like just make me a servant. Like I was eating in the pig pen. Like, just make me a servant. I'll be good with that. And it really takes almost like a deep level of brokenness. It's hard. It's a hard journey back.
Very hard.
And man, we were talking about emotional boundaries earlier. So you mentioned anger. And what does that look like? Like, how did you said he helped you deal with your anger problem?
But basically, it's funny because the way they worked is that they would try to pull it out of you, and I would be the type that would just let things build up and build up and build up, and I can remember it clear as day. We were having choir practice, and I used to sing the loudest in choir practice just because. And one night he spoke up and was like, "You're not singing." He's like, "You need to sing," and like called me out in front of everybody, and I just blew up over something so small. And then afterwards, he came and talked to me. It was like, "You see how small that was, and you just blew up over it." So I see what your issue is, and I was like, "Yeah, it was," and it was just, I don't know what they would call it, but it's just where you hold everything in and
stew it.
Yeah, just stew it.
Stew it.
And once he said that, and I realized, I was like, well, maybe it is an anger problem. And
it's really good.
Yeah,
it's on. I mean, a good coach does that though, right?
Yeah.
They don't. I mean, there are some things you just do reps of, but there are some things the coach is going to have you do reps of because they know it's an area of weakness.
Yep.
And they're going to put you to work in that area of the field, you know, and man, it's definitely, I wasn't an athlete, but I've watched enough sports movies and I'm an expert. Yeah. So there's that, you know. So Jesse, what is, man, what's one lesson, we're going to kind of wrap up on this last question, but I got one more question for each of you. Jesse, what's one lesson you've learned about relationships that you wish you knew sooner? So let me frame this question up because this is how I do this in this conversation. I had a studio in my old house before we sold it, and on top of my filing cabinet, one of my favorite movie trilogies is Back to the Future. Oh. I love that movie trilogy. So I went out and did what any responsible adult does and bought the Lego DeLorean because I had to have it, right? Yeah. And man, I love that movie, and so I built it. But one of the things of Jesse today, right? This is the way I like to frame this question. I heard somebody else say it this way. It's powerful. Jesse today could hop in the DeLorean, go back, and give Jesse 5 years ago, right? Say for the first time being incarcerated, before all that, and tell that Jesse everything. Tell that Jesse how to handle relationships, knowing everything that Jesse knows now. What would that piece of advice be?
Learn how to trust them. You know, trust them. How to be good to them. Really a whole lot. You know, how to love them. You know, like I didn't know what love was then, but now if I could go back, I would tell them. You know, look, this is what love is. This is how you could love them. You know, and I would definitely change that for sure, you know, and make sure they got a smile on their face, you know, and not always down them all the time, you know, like always try to lift them up. Yeah. I definitely would change that for sure.
I asked that question not because I think trying to change the past is a useful exercise, because obviously you can't. There's two reasons I asked that question. Number one, introspection, our answer. Number one, it can help us see how far we've come.
Yes, sir.
Number two, it can identify some of the areas that we still need to work on, right? Because the things we're speaking to, sometimes it almost, it's us vocalizing still what we see as a place of need in our lives.
Yeah.
And so we're even speaking to ourselves, you know, today. The other reason I do that is for folks that are listening, right? There are people that are going to hear parts of your story, even just in our short conversation today, and feeling themselves right where you're at. Mm. And the way that I do that is like, there's a lot of Jessies right out there
a whole
that
bunch
are struggling. And made crazy is today, homeboy in class, I'm not going to say his name because he didn't volunteer to be on camera, but like 17 years old and signed up for the military. His parents, like, that was me. Yeah. Like, I just, like, I had this, like, moment, even just hearing that little piece of his story. I'm like, I've never met it. We've been doing Teen Challenge for 15 years, met anybody else that had signed military papers at 17 years old. Wow. And it was just like one of those God moments. And so Ashley, I want to ask you a different question. what advice would you give to someone who feels stuck? So you talked a lot about kind of this tension
Yeah.
of having the advice available to you, having the relationships available to you, but almost being stuck and unable to kind of take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And so what would you speak to somebody, man, who maybe just feels stuck? Like I can do this alone.
Yeah.
I don't need anybody else. I'm better off. I'm protecting everybody else by being away from them because I'm gonna be angry anyways.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what would you say to somebody that's in that position?
Well, I would definitely tell them that if more than one person's saying the same thing, that they probably should do it. But just surround yourself by godly people and just listen. That listening is one of the biggest things, because a lot of times we don't want to listen because we're so quick to speak and to say something.
Yes.
But if we listen twice as much as we speak, we probably can receive something. And just be willing to learn something from anybody, because you can learn from everybody.
Yeah.
No matter how old you are or how young you are. And some of the people I'd learned from, some of the most profound things were younger than me. And just taking the time to listen to them helped me a lot. So I think that would be one of my greatest things that I could say to them is just listen.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, those lies too, right? I'm better off alone.
Yeah.
Like, man, and it's, we may be able to figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean, for a short term. But I think getting on the other side of it and realizing like the value, like I stopped working for Teen Challenge for a little bit, 2019. And I had been telling students for years, you're going to miss the brotherhood.
Yeah.
The minute you leave, you're going to miss the brotherhood.
Yeah.
And I said it over and over and over. And sure enough, the minute I stopped working for Teen Challenge and stopped being around students all the time, and what was a stress to me in one moment
Yep.
became a major deficit. Like I left and I realized like, man, I enjoy hanging around with those fools all the time. Like, what the heck, you know?
Yep.
I say fool, you know, not condescendingly,
Right.
you know, just, but in that regard, man, just like the connection with people.
It's so true.
It's so good for us.
You don't miss. You don't know how much you're gonna miss something until you ain't got it no more.
Yeah. And I say fool too, because I was one of the fools too on the mountain. So
Yeah.
we're all fools together.
Yeah.
But man. Well, I appreciate you guys sitting down and chatting. I know this conversation was unscripted, unplanned.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of going off the cuff, talking about friendships. But man, I hope you guys enjoyed the discussion. I just want to encourage you again, if you're new here, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and down in the comments, there's some information. If you need help, don't hesitate to reach out to Teen Challenge, or you can support the program as well below. But man, we appreciate you guys, and give us some feedback. How are your relationships? Maybe there's a struggle or something you're dealing with, or maybe you got some advice. Maybe we missed something, and give us some feedback on how you can build better friendships. Hey, God bless you guys. Thank you for watching. Ashley, Jesse, thank you guys for talking.
Thank you for having us here.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
God bless.